Just sitting here taking a moment, noticing what is in my mind, noticing what's going on in my body, noticing how quickly our mind wants to anticipate the next moment. How quickly my mind, rather, I don't want to speak for you, but how quickly the mind wants to anticipate so that it can predict, so that it can avoid something that might be uncomfortable. So we're always trying to think about the future, manage the future, control the future. And I was just sitting here noticing my thoughts and recognizing that my mind is literally trying to look ahead to what I might say. And yet I know that once I hit record, if I'm not present and in the moment, that is going to be, I don't feel like I'm going to be as authentic in the moment. I don't feel like I'm going to be able to pull out what I genuinely want to say. I think it's ultimately going to be somewhat fabricated because it's me trying to manage an impression rather than simply being honest in the moment. So I was just pausing, and what I tend to do is I'm pausing, I'm noticing the sensations in my body, I'm noticing the emotions I'm feeling in my body and my mind. I'm noticing the thoughts that are coming and going. And what I do is I try to just observe what my body and mind are telling me without necessarily needing to act upon it. I realize that's not always possible, but it's really just being able to fully accept what I'm feeling, whether it's a positive or a negative, and understanding that some of the sensations in my body and some of the emotions in my mind were programmed under correct circumstances. In other words, they were programmed based on good information, good experiences with other people, good experiences in my community, essentially emotions that you can trust because they were calibrated in a healthy environment. And it's distinguishing between those sensations and thoughts and feelings and the ones that were calibrated in situations that weren't so good, that weren't so positive, that weren't so correct. You know, the situations that we tend to refer to as some form of trauma. And I realize trauma may sound real heavy, it may sound real loaded, so I don't mean to overspeak my experience or anyone else's. But I notice my emotions. I notice what my body is telling me and my mind is telling me because I realize not all the sensations I have are correct. What I'm learning and what I've been thinking about a lot the past few days is the concept of myself, the concept of the self. And that we all create an idea about the way that the world is and the way that we are in that world. We create, in some ways, our own version, our own reality of the world that we live in. We do this over the course of our lives. We attach ourselves to certain ideas, certain rituals, certain rules, certain beliefs, certain ideas about ourselves, ideas about our family, ideas about the world around us. And these ideas govern how we relate to the world in the moment, in the present moment. So we internalize our own version of reality, and then we're constantly measuring the present moment according to that version of reality. So if our present moment is not in alignment with our perception of the way the world should be, we pull back, we hold back, we get fearful. We have a response in the body that we might call anxiety. We have a response in the body we might call fear. We have a response in our body or in our mind that is telling us that something is wrong, something is not right within the context of how we believe the world should be, how we believe the world should be intellectually, emotionally, physically, spiritually. That's such a loaded term. You can't say spiritual anymore without someone having to distinguish what that means. So we attach ourselves to a perception of the world, And this is what leads to attachment and what leads to suffering. Some people call it suffering, some people call it pain, whatever you want to call it, whatever school of thought you come from, whatever background you want to go to bat for. Over the course of our lives, we become acquainted with a certain perception of our inner world and our outer world, and that perception is constantly being updated and revised by the way we react and interact to the world around us. So we don't know it, but we are updating the intellectual and emotional and sensational algorithms in our mind and body in real time, all the time, by how we judge the emotions and sensations and thoughts going on inside of us in relation to what we experience in the external world. So our mind, and we could get real deep with this if we want to, but I don't think I'm going to right now. We could talk about the limbic brain and how it responds automatically to its perception of the way the world should be. It has access, presumably, to all the memories and all the things that have been valid to our background, so it reacts automatically to keep us safe. But let's not go down that road too far. Let's just say that the brain and the body are designed to learn automatically from experience, whether you like it or not. And the more we learn, the more we selectively attend to the world around us. The more we attach ourselves to certain beliefs, certain ideas, certain rituals and rules and perceptions, these things guide the way that we see and interpret the world. And then you get into a little bit further, the beliefs that we hold on to, even politically. Look what's happening politically. Let's not go there, but look what's happening politically. People get so attached to their perception of the way they think the world should be and to the information that's being fed to them by the powers that be, that we start to defend the self as it relates to politics or as it relates to ideas. So we internalize certain things. Those things become part of who we are. When those ideas are threatened, now we are threatened. That's how the limbic brain works. That's how the body works. That's how we selectively attend to the world around us. We internalize this information, and then our brain and body reacts automatically to our perception in the moment of how we think the world should be inside and out. We experience sensations. These sensations tell us whether this thing is good or bad, right or wrong. Most of us don't tend to listen to our emotions or observe or accept our emotions. We tend to react and act out our emotions automatically, not even realizing we could take a big step back, and you can look at your emotions as a source of wisdom, a source of information that's based on how you have navigated this life, but you don't necessarily need to listen to it. It's a good source of information, but it shouldn't be taken as factual. And you need to realize that your consciousness, what some people call the soul, what some people call the contextual self, let's just call it consciousness. You have an observing self that is not your thoughts. It is not your emotions. It is not the sensations in your body. If you simply close your eyes and take a step back and remember what it was like to be a child, remember you saw the world through the same eyes as a child that you see the world through now. It's just we have attached ourselves to lots and lots of different ideas and beliefs and experiences over time, and so those things now cloud the way that we see the world. But that deeper observing self is still there, and it hasn't changed. I referred to this last week in episode 2. All of us have this ability, if we practice, to take a step back, to be observing and accepting of what's happening in our mind and our body, and to utilize that information in the present moment to make wise decisions about how we navigate this world in the present. If you want to change yourself, if you want to change the world, what you need to do is you need to change the way that you interact with the present moment, understanding that you need to change the way that you interact with yourself. changing the way you interact with your emotions and your thoughts and your memories and the sensations, rather than simply acting out. You want to observe and notice. So taking it a little personal, as you can see, I'm wearing the same clothes I was last week. You guys probably think I never change my clothes. So I was painting earlier today. I was painting right before I sat down to do this. And like I've been doing, I just kind of waited for a time when I just felt really prepared to sit down and talk and share. So I'm painting and I'm noticing my body and I'm noticing my emotions. And I noticed since last night that I've been feeling pain in my body. And this pain is not physical pain. It's not the kind of pain you get when someone punches you in the gut, although it might be close. It's not a physical pain. I didn't cut myself. Something didn't pinch me. But I'm experiencing a sensation in my body, a sensation in my mind that something is wrong or that something is missing. It's a sad feeling. It's kind of an alone feeling. And obviously on the surface, it's related to the dramatic shift in my life in regards to my wife, who I care for and I love. And, I believed I would be in this committed, loving relationship for a long time. And I'm not here to ruminate on that. I'm not here to really expound on that. What I'm here to do is to be honest about what I'm experiencing in the moment. What I notice is I've been practicing consistently for a long time, but by necessity, by the position I've kind of been put in my life, which is kind of it's a position of submission. It's a position of surrender. What I've learned is, I'll say we, because I think we all do it in different circumstances. We try to correct the world based upon how we perceive it should be by using different tools and tactics that we have been taught in our life. And that includes feedback, it includes arguing, it includes anger, it includes rage, it includes sadness. We do all of these things to try to correct the behavior of people around us. We have this perception of the way the world should be. When that world starts shifting, we try to correct it. Now, a big challenge for me is understanding when is trying to correct my world the right choice. In other words, when do I hold someone or some people around me accountable for agreements that we have made, whether spoken or unspoken? We all do this. And when do I recognize that agreements are meant to shift and change, and that relationships do shift and change, and that me trying to hold on to a perspective of the way I want the world to be has caused me a lot of pain, and also has caused some pain around me? Now, I could go off and make a pretty good defense of why I'm trying to keep that reality consistent, because children are involved and deep commitments are involved. But what I've learned over the past couple of years is, I can rationalize this all I want. I can argue for it all I want. I am in a position where all the tools and tactics that I haven't worked to change my reality in the way that I want it. Meaning I haven't been able to heal my marriage. I haven't been able to heal my relationship. So I don't think that's a real negative want, but nevertheless, I haven't been able to heal my relationship. And that's put me in a position of surrender. What I've learned is I can only live in anger for so long. I can only experience sadness for so long. It's hard on the body. It's hard on the mind. At some point, you kind of get to a crossroads. It's funny. It's like the Shawshank Redemption, get busy living or get busy dying. You can continue to practice anger, continue to practice sadness, continue to practice rage, continue to try to correct the world that is changing or shifting or falling apart. And suddenly you might just turn into an angry asshole, or you can learn how to surrender. You can learn how to breathe. You can learn that you can't always force change in the world around you. In fact, I would argue that more often than not, you can't. These experiences have dramatically changed the way that I actually go about my life, the way I actually go about doing therapy with others. Just recognizing, how do you really look at your life and understand when it is time to stand your ground and be an activist in your own life and stand for something, fight for something. You have a perception of the way the world should be. When do you stand your ground, fight for it? And just as important, if not more important, when do you recognize it's time to surrender, it's time to let go, it's time to change, it's time to adapt? When do you let go? When do you change that self that is assessing the world around you and telling you something is wrong? So getting back to my experience, I noticed, the past week I've been in what I would judge as a really good place, meaning I'm really working on living in the present moment, meaning I'm not trying to anticipate, I'm not trying to ruminate, I'm not trying to dwell on negative emotions. I'm not allowing my negative emotions to turn into negative thoughts, which turn into negative behaviors. I'm simply doing my best to live in the present moment in as true a way as I can. That means when I'm with my clients, I'm fully with them as much as I can. When I'm with my daughters, I'm fully with them. When I'm with my friends, I'm fully with them. When I'm with Allie, my wife, I'm fully with her. We got a guest. All right, I'm going to have to pause. Hey friends, I'm sorry about that. I had a visitor, so I got interrupted. I'll try to get back to where I was approximately. And I guess I can just get back there by thinking about where I am in my mind and body right now. That's why I started sharing. And realizing that I have been really making an effort to practice being present, to practice. That doesn't mean escaping. It doesn't mean, I'm so present and everything's wonderful in this present moment. It means practicing noticing, observing, accepting, even just kind of letting whatever's happening in my mind and body happen without necessarily needing to react to it or listen to it. And then making an effort to attach my attitude in the present moment to being positive, to being supportive, to being just present and kind, not present and angry, not present and mean, present and kind. And that works well. And when I think about being in that space, I think, well, why would I want to be in any other space? And it's interesting how injury, our perception that something has been done to us that is not in alignment with that perception of the world that we need to protect. We experience an injury, and that injury tells us something is wrong, and then we experience those emotions. So we attach the present moment to, I'm hurt, I'm angry, stay away from me. So I've been in a good place with that, and I noticed last night that I started experiencing some real painful sensations in my body. Emotional pain, sadness, loss. The grief was back. And I realized that for better or worse, I allowed myself to start believing that things were getting better, to start believing that healing might take place, that there might be a healing of our relationship, and that we may move forward stronger and better. And indeed, we may move forward stronger and better, just not the way I want, right? Which is the deep acceptance part. But I noticed last night, because there has been this positivity, because I think we're both making this effort together to just be present. And really, I think if we're really going for it, we're trying to be non-conditional. We're trying to be more accepting of each other in the present moment and take responsibility for our shit and do our part so that we don't create as much conflict. Nevertheless, I got caught back up in the fantasy. I got caught back up in the idea of once was. And then I reminded myself that that is not the way things are. That's been very clear. That's been very clarified. And so I need to focus on accepting what I'm experiencing in the moment, which is what I worked on last night. I've been working on today. So I realized that that part of me that I've been really working on is still there. It requires practice every day to observe this injured part of me, this child part of me, that fractured part of me, that part of me that I developed in a world where I thought I needed to be validated, where I needed validation, where I needed acceptance, where I needed love and containment. And, who can blame us for wanting or needing love? But that's not the point. The point is I developed an ego. I developed a spacesuit. I developed a default mode network. I developed an idea of the way I thought the world should be. And life put me in a position where I can't have that anymore. And no matter how hard I want it, I can't have it. This is where actually I've explored privilege probably more than I ever have in the past. And I realize that's a real buzzword for some people. You start talking about privilege and people are like, well, where's my privilege? But I recognize, because I've worked with a lot of different people, been friends with a lot of different people, been around enough to know that all things being equal, I walk through the world a little easier than a lot of people as a professional white male. And I'm just acknowledging that. But I don't want to get lost in that. I've simply thought about the idea that perhaps I've gotten a lot of what I want in my life. That doesn't mean I haven't worked really hard for it. I've worked really, really hard for it. Like a lot of you, I've worked tirelessly for it. But I realize that I don't experience things that a lot of my friends do. When I drive, I don't worry about the cops. I don't worry about the police. No disrespect to police. It's just, I know that all my brown skin friends have to think about that stuff constantly. I see it in therapy all the time, so I realize it's a real thing. But I've had to realize that, all these things put aside, I've been put in a position where one of the things that is the most important in my life, that I have wrapped my heart around and my identity around and my life around, is my partner, my wife. I realized when I said those vows, when I wrote those vows, that I took it very, very deeply and very seriously. And it was something that I had worked on for so long. Because I had made definite mistakes in the past. Very foolish mistakes from a place of fear and insecurity. The dumb things a lot of us do, but I'll take responsibility for mine. Do dumb things out of fear and insecurity. So I don't want to get off on this too much. Just suffice it to say, life has put me in a position where I need to surrender. That's been the most powerful experience of the past 2 years of my life, is knowing when to let go and to get small and to get humble and to get down on the floor and breathe and just be quiet. Quiet your mind, quiet your body, quiet all need to react or respond or correct the world. Complete surrender. You have to accept the yeah, but they did this, yeah, but they did that, yeah, but this happened. What about this? I'm justified. I'm angry. I'm hurt. Someone has done me wrong. The world is supposed to be a certain way. And someone has done me wrong. And I need to correct the world. I need to make it right. And I'm so angry about it. I feel so hurt by it. No one cares and no one listens to me, and I have such bad luck, and all this stuff that we say to ourselves. We tell ourselves a story based upon our perception of the world that we live in. Yeah, but. So I've been working on all that shit. I've been working on it really diligently. And the blessing of this whole thing is that I never would have worked as deeply on myself as I have in the past 2 years had I not been put in this position by life. And I definitely don't want to come across or sound, and because I don't feel like, woe is me, that this is a bigger deal than what any of you are going through out there. I just think I'm trying to be really honest about what I'm experiencing in the moment. And this is honestly good for me to simply talk it out and be willing to be open, be willing to not hold back, and to hear myself say it out loud. And I hope that for any of you listening, I hope it just gives you permission to do the same in your own life with people that you feel safe with, or even to just do it in a journal, even to do this on your own like I do a lot, where I use Google Docs and I use the voice to text and I just talk and I record my thoughts. So all this rambling on that I've been going on here is just, I noticed last night that I was in pain, and I was in pain for the first time in a little while, and it was more profound. And so I noticed that I bought back into the story that led to a reminder of the way the world is supposed to be. It led to me experiencing pain. Rather than acting out that pain or reacting to it, I'm trying to just understand that I'm grieving and that it's a feeling of loss. That's okay. But sometimes we need to allow the world to shift in front of us, and we need to flow with it and adapt to it. In fact, maybe I'm learning in a lot of ways this is the way that I want to live my life, is to flow like water, to adapt, to be in the present moment, attaching my attitude to proactive kindness and creativity, and accepting this pain and all of it as just an indication that I'm alive, an indication that I've lived a life, and that I'm measuring my present life based on my past life, my perception of the way the world's supposed to be. So I'm going to go back and paint now, and I'm going to go back to practicing really breathing, really accepting what I'm feeling, accepting the pain, that the pain is a reminder of the change in my life, the change that I didn't invite and I don't want, but I'm nevertheless working on accepting, working on not just accepting, but I want to thrive in this space. I want to grow through this space. So grow through your pain. All right? Grow through your pain. Any of you listening, if you ever want to reach out to me, my email is mark, M-A-R-K, @jesart.com, Jesart.com, mark, M-A-R-K, @jesart.com. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. So be open with yourselves. Be honest with yourselves. Take care out there. Bye.